I'm excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast. The reason is because the way technology works nowadays, the way personal branding works, a solo recruiter or a small, tight team can outperform and outproduce a 20 to 50 person recruiting team. Technology is changing, times are changing, and I am so excited about sharing how a small team or a solo producer can outperform the big dogs. I have my special guest, Cas van Oort, who specializes in not only technology, he also specializes in bringing in leads for companies and just ways that you can use technology to amplify everything that you're doing on the branding side of the house, amplify everything that you're doing on the sales side of the house and the recruiting side of the house. So welcome to the Elite Recruiter Podcast, Cas.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So before we start doing a deep dive into all the fun technology things and the different ways that recruiters can amplify what they're doing, first of all, how did you even get started in the recruiting space?
Yeah, so I got started like lots of us do. I had no idea what to do after high school. I was an elite sailor for a long time, and then I just wanted to, get in sales or get into a commercial environment. So I just went to a recruiter, funnily enough, and he told me, "You get bored pretty fast, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah, pretty much." And he was like, "You shouldn't be an account manager because an account manager sells the same thing every time. You need to sell people because they're different every time. So you need to do recruiting." So that's how I actually got started there. And I got started old-fashioned way with at a very large recruitment business, Robert Walters. They do finance recruitment. So that is suit and tie, go to the finance district and start dialing every day. Old school stuff.
And so you've taken your recruiting experience and then you've turned it into everything that you're doing now. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, sure. So I like I said, I started in recruitment 8 years ago, and funnily enough, I did a very old school type of recruitment back then, which is 360 recruitment, dialing and doing your thing. That is actually the opposite of what I really like to do, because what I like to do is being creative and trying to think of new ways to do things and trying to get ahead of the competition in that way. So nowadays, I actually focus myself on consultancy for recruitment teams and recruitment agencies, where I help them implement the newest tools and techniques to make sure that they do more with less. Not meaning that we want to take out the person at all, because I think the human connection always has to be there, and it's very relevant in creating a contact and creating a business in the end. But there's so much admin stuff we do. There's so much things we do all day, like looking on job boards that we don't really need to do. We've got tools for that, right? So you just need to focus yourself on making the connection. That's what I help teams out with every day.
Awesome.
Awesome. Partially through consultancy, which I still do, and partially through creating my own software tools like Job Leads, where we help you scour the market for interesting roles that you can then work on.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So one of the things we've been having some conversations about, the sales game and recruiting is changing. Yes, sales is a foundational skill set that you need to have. You need to put in the work, the KPIs and everything. But now sales is a multi-touch, a little bit of a marketing avenue. How is sales and marketing kind of evolving within recruiting?
Interesting questions. So in my mind, we are really sales driven in the sense that we perform an output and then we expect an input, right? Meaning, or the other way around, input, output, meaning we're going to call 100 clients and then we're going to get 3 jobs. And from those 3 jobs, we're going to place 1. And it's more of a time investment thing than a marketing thing, because a marketer thinks otherwise. A marketer thinks about brand. A marketer thinks about, hey, how much ad money and time do I need to input there in order to get a response from that? So old school wise, we're really sales driven. We're just going to pick up the phone and start dialing. But what you see now is that's hard to scale, right? Because a call is a call. And of course you can use software to call 10 people at a time and do that type of thing. But it's just really hard to get to make sure that you got a lot of leverage there. With marketing, there's more leverage possible. It's one of the reasons you're doing your podcast, right? You do this work once and then it's there for life, and then people can listen to it even a year from now, rather than just receive this call now. So it's an awesome way to do it. What you see people do nowadays in the sense of marketing is that it's not just about trying to push out some organic content, right? Because that's where everybody starts. Okay, I need to be posting on LinkedIn, and then everybody posts on LinkedIn, which is great. But it goes back a long way. Like it goes back even to the core offering that you give your clients. Like, what do you want to offer your clients? Are you a recruitment firm, or are you a talent partner to that firm? Okay, let's say you're a talent partner. You can help them out in several ways. You might need to give them some advice. That advice can cost something. You can help them you can help them recruit a person. That's going to be very expensive, right? That could be great as well. You could also be running an online community for their specific niche where they can just buy a job slot with you rather than just do recruitment for them. So there's tons of ways you can actually help your clients out by, of course, providing them content, but also providing them with varied business models. And in doing that, you can actually help your client out. And that's what we're seeing today and nowadays, is that you see people move from classic old school dialing to, of course, posting on LinkedIn and posting on job boards, which is great anyway. But then also thinking about, hey, what else can I do in order to attract the right type of candidates and the right type of clients in order to grow my business? And the funny thing is, marketing, like I said, is a lot more scalable. So that's why you see guys that are by themselves or with 3 of them all do $1 million+ in revenue, because they do marketing. And if you have top of funnel for both ends, clients and candidates, then you're just making matches. And making matches is sort of, that doesn't take the most time. The most time is getting the people or the points on the board in order to get people into the funnel. And that's what really marketing works at nowadays.
And I love that there's a few different points that you really hammered on. Like, I know most of us were trained in recruiting and we're trained in sales, just smile and dial, or build out like the Dream 100, Dream 200, and just sit there and go to town. But through these conversations on the podcast, like, my eyes have been opened up like multiple times. Like, there's a recruiter that I know that I interviewed on the podcast. He literally has a built-in community of the exact skill set that he specializes in. That's all he does. And he bills like $1 million a year because of that. And it's just like, right? But it's these things that you can do to like really set yourself apart via marketing that makes the sales process so much easier.
Like I always love working with examples, right? Because just talking about fluff is fun, but that's like, if people want examples. One company to look at, which is awesome, is called We Are Developers. They are a development focused community over in the Netherlands, in the EU, and they've got. I'm gonna bastardize this, but I think they've got about 100,000 developers in their community, and they host events, which is very funny because everybody thinks of a developer of a guy sitting behind a desk and just typing by himself. But they host the biggest events all throughout Europe, and their superstars come to speak there. So like the creator of Java and the creator of .NET, and all these guys, Steve Wozniak, all these guys come to speak there for free. Every developer goes there from his own money, like from his own paycheck. And on the back end, they just sell job board postings in their community to companies at a very cheap rate. I think it's a few $1,000 a year, which is nothing. That's like less than one recruitment fee. And they're essentially a recruitment machine, and all they do is host events. That's all they do. And it's working great. Like, they're growing country by country. They just opened in the Netherlands, and they're growing hand over fist. It's ridiculous. It's a completely different style of recruiting, but it still works.
And it's, like I said earlier, it's just like this podcast has opened my eyes, and just the amount of different ways that recruiting companies can make money, and how some of them are just amplifying the technology and scaling. And there are so many ways to, I need to find another analogy, to skin a cat.
Yeah. Sorry, all you cat lovers. Sorry.
I love my cats, but it's just, it took me probably about a good decade, or maybe even like 15 years, to really start looking outside the box and just like, wait, there's more than just the placement fee, or more than just the contract. And, ourselves, we do consulting in the DoD space, just because there are so many ways that you can lose a fee. If a full scope poly clearance doesn't go from the CIA to the NSA, there's something happens and you lose out and you have to start from square one. So we've varied our way of how we do business because of the market, and to also make sure that we get paid at the end of the day.
I think it's great, and I can give you another nice example. And this is one for the blue collar recruiters out there. Like through like with blue collar workers, the whole issue is candidate acquisition, right? Because it's hard to find candidates, and once you've got them, you can place them in companies, and you can get a recruitment fee. But it's a different ball game to white collar work. So what a guy that I know in the Netherlands does is he created a sort of online community, not really a place where people meet, but just where they share information. So it's more of a website for electricians. And what they then do is that they share fun things about electricians, and then they just have ads on Meta and on Instagram and TikTok where they just ask, hey, are you looking for a new job in this specific region? Just give me your demands on what you want in a job, and then we'll contact you when we have something. And what they then do is they make deals with the biggest facility companies in the Netherlands that need tons of electricians. And they just say, okay, rather than us recruiting for you, which is a lot of time, I sell you this lead, this candidate. So I have 25 people in your area in my email newsletter today, and I will just email them with your specific job. And when they apply to your job, you pay me, I don't know, I guess like 500 euros or $500, and that's it. And you just have them speak. And in the end, you're still making a lot of money because you might need 3 or 4 in order to hire someone. So you're still making 2,000, but the cost of it, also in terms of time investment, is extremely low, because you're not spending all of that time speaking to people. It's all done through online forums and asking them what to do. So for these types of solutions work best for these types of clients, right? Because they're not going to pay a recruitment fee, or like if you're going to put someone on your own payroll, you have to ask a lot more, and it's going to annoy people. Why not just give them what they want? And what they want is a person that wants to work there, and they can figure it out themselves, And because you make it very efficient at the front, you don't need a lot of money for that. But the business makes tons of money because he's got 10, 20 of these businesses needing all of these electricians. It's ridiculous. That's the new way. Like there's a specific niche or a specific solution for every type of client. And you just need to search in what's different, because what's everybody already doing is the old-fashioned model, right? So if you're looking for a new type of model, you're going to get a lot of people who say, recruiters, no, I don't like recruiters, or I've been burned by too much recruitment agencies. And then you say, but no, we actually do something different, right? We're a talent partner. We're helping you find the proper people. And then they're like, hey, that could be interesting.
So I've been telling a few. Yeah, it really is. I've been telling a few people that 2024 is the year of community when it comes to recruiting, where it comes to working with your niche community. Oh, yeah. How does one start to build a niche focused community on the skill set that you're recruiting on? Like where do you start?
Oh yeah, that's a hard question. So the honest answer is it's going to be really hard, because the ones that I see do it very successfully are people that actually come from the space. So meaning if you're talking electricians as an example, or developers, it's actually a developer that starts the community because they know what they want. They have their friends in the community and they can set something up, right? So that is the one. So I would always try and pair yourself with someone that comes from the industry and really knows what people want and people need, because that will definitely help you out in the beginning. And then you can be the recruiter head and someone that will do all of the business earning on the back end, and have someone in the front end really be the face of it. So I would do that. And the other thing is start as light as possible. So what I learned from We Are Developers, if you're looking to follow someone, Rudy Bauer is a great guy. He's one of the founders of it. And he always says you have to start really light, in the sense that what they do when they launch a country in the community, they just go local and they say, you know what, we're going to find 20 people that want to come to a free event. And then they're going to find 2 clients that really need to hire developers. And then they're going to say, hey, if you give us a little bit of money to host this event, you can come speak at our event. And then just tell all the developers there what you're doing, what the fun stuff is that you're building on. Like, what are you hacking? Like, what's different to the rest of the market? And that's all they do. And then from that on, they send questionnaires. They ask them what the developers would like. Then they ask the clients, hey, can we help you out with something? And that's how it organically grows. But we always try and launch something that's too big, that's too big of a brand at the start, but just start really, really small. That's what my advice would be.
I think starting with an MVP, something small like in one city, is probably the best thing to do. Don't laugh. This podcast started as an MVP, minimum viable product. The recruiting growth summit that we've just recently happened, that was an cool, MVP, man. Which I thought 25 to 50 people would sign up. It was way more than that. But like, if you have a dumb idea, go implement it, like on a small scale.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I know you guys aren't big on WhatsApp, but in the Netherlands, I would say, or in Europe, I would say, just start a WhatsApp group. That's the easiest thing you can do, right? Just start a WhatsApp group and start messaging people in there, start getting people together, doing online events, do a webinar, whatever. It's as easy as that. And if you need proof, I have a nice one. If you need proof why you should be launching these types of communities, I actually had a meeting with a scale up last week that raised $73 million. So their growth trajectory is this, or in your case, this going up and to the right. And they actually told me, we are not working with recruitment agencies anymore. And this was for a specific community that I'm helping launch. And they said, if you have a community, we will happily sponsor your events. We will pay you for job slots. We will do our thing, but no more recruitment agencies. We're just doing sponsorships of these types of events. So that should be a sign on the wall that, a canary in the coal mine, whatever you want to call it, that, things are changing. And of course, there will always be a place for an old-fashioned recruitment agency, because there's always going to be clients that need people now, right? And that aren't sexy enough by themselves to acquire people. There's always going to be a place for that. But if you compare the amount of recruitment agencies we have in the UK compared to the amount of companies in general, like there are too many recruitment agencies in the UK. The US isn't that bad, but I don't think it will ever get that bad, because there's just not enough room. Clients are growing. They know they want something else. They don't want to pay 20K every time they recruit someone. There's different solutions, right? So now's the time to do it. I mean, we're already seeing it happen.
Okay. And flipping gears a little bit, I want to talk about the original hook of the podcast. How can a small company, a small team outproduce a 20 to 40 person team? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I have a great example of that. To be clear, I love the community aspect. I love doing a job board in order to do all of your top of funnel acquisition, right? That is all great one I can talk about, but that's not going to get one person to 1 million in revenue by themselves, because that's too many moving parts. So you need more people for that. So if we're just talking, we want to be as effective as possible. I've seen a guy in the Netherlands do it, and all he does is like the inside, outside account management sales guys, right? So that hop in the car and have to drive around, and it's not the most sexy job alive. And nobody really, it's like, there's a specific set of guys that do this, and if you're a company that needs to find these guys, they're impossible to find. So what he does is he focuses all his content only on LinkedIn and only on sales. Where he just says, okay, I'm the sales guy. I'm the best sales recruiter there is. I post tips on sales every day, etc. And he just has an email list that is growing day by day. And he started small. And this year he's doing 1 million plus. Why? It's because all he needs to do is, if he has a job from someone, he puts it online on LinkedIn. He has 30 applicants. Well, nobody else can get applicants. And clients are coming to him because they say, hey, I saw your content. I saw you have a huge following on LinkedIn. You might know some guys, right? And then he says, yeah, sure. And the funny thing is, he's not even asking 20, 30% of yearly salary, because he doesn't need to, because it's an easy fix for him. So he does so much bulk by himself because he has a personal brand. That's essentially how he does it. His stack is really simple. Like, he has a regular, in Dutch we would call huistuin en keuken, which is like a run-of-the-mill vanilla ATS system, almost no automations, because he just says, hey, if you want to apply, here's a link. Client, here's a link to fill your job. And then he just makes the match. It's so easy.
Okay, but he's still building a community. Okay, so let me take a step back. The podcast that went live this week, and this is going live later on, is Mike Williams, who is took him 2 years for him and a small group of team to go from 0 to 2.5 million. He's huge on LinkedIn branding, LinkedIn telling stories, LinkedIn this. So what you're talking about is this guy has built out literally an online community on LinkedIn. He's now added a newsletter. Like, he's gotten popular, and now the companies are coming to him because of the branding that he's done.
Yeah.
And he's doing over $1 million in revenue as a single solo producer.
Yeah, by himself. And like, I'm going to be clear, you can get to 1 million by yourself by just cold calling. That's fine as well. But like, it has to deal with effort. And he spent his time building when he didn't get a lot of results. And he's gotten up to a point now after almost 2 years where if he posts a job, like, he has a job a week. It's that easy for him. But people come to him all the time because he's the sales guy. and everybody comes to him. Same thing with the community that I'm launching, that has been launched, or that I advise for recruitment purposes. That is in customer success. And people come to him, his name is Mick, because they know, hey, you're the customer success guy. I've seen you post stuff on LinkedIn. He does in-person events all throughout Europe. He then gets to speak at different events that are software focused, where a lot of customer success is. He posts a picture online of him speaking there that elevates his brand again, and then clients come to him. And the funny thing is, he does no client acquisition. He's in beginning of year 2, and he gets tons of inbound from clients saying, hey, do you also recruit for customer success? And we haven't even set up the recruitment yet.
Huh. That is crazy. So if a recruiter that's listening to this podcast, they're hearing all this stuff, like, how do you even, like, where do you start?
Yeah, the hard thing. The honest answer is niche down. Like everybody, like I'm a recruiter myself as well, and I always fall into the same trap where I say, okay, I don't really do this specific IT roles, but hey, this is a client of mine. He asked me to do this IT role, and I know if I spend I spent 10 hours searching, I'm going to find that person for him, and that's another 20K in the basket. So that's all fine. So we tend to go too broad for ourselves, but the more you niche down, the more people will come to you. So that's point one. That's just scary to do, right? Because if you're going to leave a lot of money on the table to get there, like it's going to be freaking scary. That's version 1 of doing it. If you're building for everyone, you're building for no one, as they say in marketing. And that's also part of the switch from sales to marketing, is if we're going to think of it with a marketing mindset, in e-commerce and in gaming marketing, we all know niche down as far as possible. Niche down the furthest that you can, because if you niche down, it will then speak to people. That's what works, but it's scary as hell. And that's something, that's what I was talking to you about before we started, is that I think that the people that start now, that start fresh with a marketing mindset, have a huge advantage to the recruitment agencies that have 10, 20, 30 employees that are built on a sales mindset, because it's really hard to change that. And hiring a marketing manager is not going to solve that issue. Like, you're going to have to rebuild it with marketing in mind from the get-go. And you see the guys that have done it from the start that are winning huge, but yeah, it's scary as hell. Like, I'm not going to lie. It's hard.
So you're saying it's easier for somebody that's just getting started to just jump in a niche. Is it because if you've been around the block for a while, I'll give an example myself, almost 2 decades, do you have to brand yourself to rebrand yourself again? Like, what are some of the blocks?
Yeah. So what happens is, this is again, so let's say if you've already been around the block, you will have a bit of a brand, but you're probably most well known with the clients that you already have. And with the clients you already have, you've perhaps done a variety of roles. So you started doing marketing, but hey, you knew the sales manager as well, that business, and he had an issue. So you're also doing sales now, and you're also doing a bit of finance, or you're also doing, so you're just branching out. So within that business, you're known for everything, which is fine for that business. But you can't really, although I see a lot of recruitment agencies do this, they say, yeah, we're specialized in finance, marketing, and sales. And I understand that you have 30 consultants, so a consultant could have his own specific specialization. I know how it works. But branding-wise, especially if you're small, that doesn't really help. Because if I see one guy doing sales and just using his personal brand overshoot anyone in terms of how much he can earn by himself, then that is the way to go, right? But it's hard to do. What we see time and time again, I've spoken to one of the managing directors of Bolt, which is one of the bigger recruitment marketing agencies in the UK and in the US. And what he reaffirmed to me is that the best marketing done nowadays for recruitment agencies is with founder-led sales. So it's fine if your recruitment consultant is sharing stuff online, it's all great. But that's like the 20-80. Like 80% of the business is won from the founder's Instagram, LinkedIn, it's a social media account. So knowing that, there's only so much you can do, because you as a founder, if you're doing personal branding, Benjamin, then you can't be the expert in finance and in marketing and in sales. You're the expert in government contracting. That's who you are, and you're doing nothing else. So you sort of have to niche yourself down. And if you're starting by yourself and you're the marketing guy, okay, crap, I have to really focus down on one thing specifically and be the best at that, then underneath you, you hire people that complement that, right? But if you already have 30 consultants and they all have their own specific niche, how are you then going to niche down, you know?
That makes sense. So I want to switch gears again. I want to talk
Yeah.
about like getting like job leads. Like, how do you like? I know you do a good job with this based on technology of figuring out what companies are going to need hiring before they even start going live with their jobs. Like, how do you figure that out so that way you could be the recruiter that's there to support that client?
Yeah. So I think that is like that's a nice to have that everybody wants to have. What we see practically in the market is that only now are the early adoption phase is almost over. You see most companies needing to have job data in order to work with, right? Because a lot of companies still don't use it. So I have job leads, which will supply you leads in your specific niche in your area from different job boards, which is all great that you can use it as a sales feed. But we are only now seeing enterprise clients say, hey, we really need to aggregate lots of data because we need to go to let's say we need all the clients that hire from us. We need to know when they have jobs online, and we need to know that historically as well, right? So then we can make predictions. We also need to be looking not just at LinkedIn a bit, but we need to be scraping all of LinkedIn for our relevant jobs in our sector, because then we can see trends and we can say, hey, we actually see more and more jobs come online in our niche, or actually seeing it decline. So we might need to be looking at starting different niches. So using data in general in our decision-making process and mapping out our market is only just now starting. And that's something that really needs to happen before you can then start predicting, right? Because you don't have any data yet. So for instance, we, at a large global recruitment agency, we're just now starting to create a data environment where we say, okay, you have your 3,000 biggest clients across the globe. We scrape their company websites daily so that we know exactly what they're hiring for. And then we can filter that for your specific type of jobs that you want. So then we can sort of map it out over the course of a year and or quarterly or monthly, what's actually happening in this business. So it might be that their job account is declining, so that you know, okay, my consultant should spend less time here. You need to spend more time on companies that are actually growing in terms of job listings. That's point one. And then point two, looking at the LinkedIn data and seeing, hey, what type of job title is hiring more? Like, I can, of course, tell you that there are more AI engineer roles open than last year, of course, but everybody can think of that, right? So there are nuggets in there. So what type of AI is asked for specifically? What type of machine learning is asked for specifically? Perhaps we can see that it used to be that only enterprise clients were hiring AI engineers, and now you can actually see the company size go down further and further in terms of AI engineers. And if you know that, you can go to perhaps the next tranche that hasn't been hit yet with job titles. You say, hey, we see that AI is becoming more and more important in your size of business. So can we please talk about hiring an AI engineer? And then you're sort of working in front of the market. But in order to do that, we really need to get data in first, and people aren't even getting data in. So that's what we're building now for a lot of clients.
No, that's definitely awesome. I think about most of the recruiters out there, Smile Dial, NBCing, hey, do you have an opening? But there's now possibilities to use technology to figure out what the hell's going on. So that way you can make more money.
You can use technology. You can make money. Yeah. And honestly, like getting a successful cold call also has its nice feelings, right? Because if you get one and you're like, damn, I created this myself. But to be honest, like there's nothing more nice than having inbound sales, because people call you with an issue and they're like, hey, Benjamin, I know you're that government contractor guy and I have an issue here. Can you help me out here? That conversation is just 20 times nicer than it is to cold call. So I know people are in different camps and both work, and I would never refrain from cold calling ever, because the data shows it works and people make millions of dollars just of cold calling. But it's just a lot nicer way to work the other way around.
Awesome. Well, before we go to the next part of the podcast, is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
No, but I'm just really interested in talking about new business models. So I think the last one we haven't even really mentioned yet, or elaborated on, which I really like, is building a job board in your specific niche, because it's the easiest thing you can do, because there's job board software out there that you can get for as little as $30 a month, which actually has backfill options. So it means you can fill the jobs on that on your job board with other jobs, so it's always been filled. And what is nicer than just talking to a client or a cold call and saying, hey, you can also post your job here. We're in a specific niche. So let's say you're doing government contracting. You put a specific job board specific for government contracting. You're doing a cold call and the client says, I don't want recruitment services. You're the 10th guy that call. And you say, that's fine, but I also run a job board and we get up to 10,000 candidates there every month in your specific niche. Would you mind if I put the job live there? Perhaps I can just help you out. And nobody will say no to that. And then after 2 weeks, you're going to say, hey, how did you find, did you get any candidates from it? And he might say yes, he might say no. And then you can say, okay, I can do a paid job board posting for you. That will be $300. And for that, you will also be actively communicated into our newsletter that has 15,000 people on the newsletter. And then they're like, okay, sure, let's do that. And then when that doesn't work, then you've been a talent partner. And then you can tell them, hey, I could also just help you with recruitment services. So that just acts as your funnel. And that's both on the candidate side, because candidates don't often feel fondly about applying to recruitment agencies, but a job board is something completely else. So you see more and more job boards being launched that way. And that could be regional, that could be job title specific, it could be sector specific, like anything you want. It's just a really nice top of funnel to use. And the funny thing is, I now see job boards doing it the other way around as well, where people that own job boards are like, hey, this has been a good business model, but you're probably not going to get rich off of job titles. So we need to do something else, or it's quite hard to make a living out of job boards, I can tell you. So why not do recruitment services? And it's very complementary. So I would really urge anyone that's trying to find something new to just think outside the box and think, hey, what can I do in order to be more of a partner to my clients? And if you're interested in talking about that, just hit me up, because I always like discussing new business models and doing new things.
I feel like I picked up a job board software on AppSumo like 2 years ago. I feel like I need to go dig it up now after speaking with you, Cas.
It's really a lot of fun. And again, with this, it is also the long haul. So it's not going to make you any money in the first 6 months. It's not going to supply you any clients within 6 months. But after a while, Google will start recognizing you as a job board, and people will start getting inbound, and it will supply you with data that you would have never gotten otherwise. And it's good fun. It works.
And that goes into like, we talk about this on the podcast multiple times, and I think I picked this up from DSP, but you have like the hunting side of your business, and then you have the farming side of your business. And the farming side is like you're planting the seeds for next year, like next summer, but it still has to be done, because if you plant those seeds, you water them, they will come up. And, LinkedIn articles has been, don't laugh at this. I just got a call from a potential client right before our trip to France. They're like, hey, I read your LinkedIn article that was posted in 2020. I want to talk to you about your services.
That's so cool, man. But that's so cool.
Like, we need help recruiting.
That's so cool. And I have the same thing that people just tell me, hey, I've been meaning to contact you for 6 months, but I just saw a post from you, or in a private group chat, I just saw your post. I was like, damn, I need to talk to you right now. And and I know it feels fluffy if you do it in the article. So that's why it's really hard to do if you don't really love it. So that's why you're talking about things that you really love. And I talk about things that I really love, which is business models. That's the only way it'll work, because you're talking to no one all the time. And then sort of something clicks, and then you're talking to a great client. Like, it's so weird. Like I posted something about job scraping in a private chat group a few weeks ago, and I had a meeting with like one of the biggest CEO of like a 1,000-person recruitment business. He's like, yeah, I saw your post a while ago, and you're an interesting guy. Let's talk. Normally, you would never get to talk to someone like that, right? But it's just when you talk about things you love, that works.
Building the brand. That's awesome. Well, let's jump over to the quick fire questions.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a brand new recruiter that's actually just getting started in the recruiting industry this year?
Personal branding. That's all. It's
Okay.
it's the worst comment to get, because everybody knows, everybody's heard it 1,000 times, right? But if you just start building your personal brand now, you will reap the benefits 4 years down the line. You'll destroy everyone that you've come up with. It's just personal brand.
Laying those seeds for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Same question, but for experienced recruiters, like people that have been around the block for a while. What advice would you give to them to see that success, especially since you've worked with some some top billers, $1 million billers that are just doing things different.
Yeah. That's going to be a hard one, but I think I would go at it a completely, so where this is also a marketing thing, do something completely different. Like if every one of in your industry is already cold calling and doing their thing, just make it a thing that you will never cold call someone. Just do it all the other way around. Just because you probably come from a specific industry. If you want to stay in that industry, make sure that you know what the rest is doing, and then do something completely different. So if everybody's got the a website with blue and regular boring colors, make a website that's yellow. Like I don't care, but the difference, being different, really matters in this. If and in the other end, let's fast forward 10 years into the future, and everybody's doing podcasts and everybody's doing TikTok style videos. Don't ever do that. Like then do it the other way around and only cold call people. It's like if you do everything the other way around, it will honest to God, it will work. So do that.
Watch the masses and kind of run the other direction is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Has there been a book that has had a huge impact on your career, and why?
Yeah, so I had one prepared, and you actually did that one in the beginning, which is the voice thing. I really like the book "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss. I don't know if you read that one. It's about brain fart. How do you call it again?
I'm reading it right now. It's part of the recruiting book club for the month.
Oh, really? But yeah. Have you gotten to the DJ voice?
Yes, I've gotten to the DJ voice.
You've got the DJ voice. So that's fun. But what I also really like is anything, if you're doing marketing style, read Seth Godin. If you've never heard of him, he's a big marketer. So his name is Seth Godin. And he really talks about doing things differently. And he has a great blog where he does long form content on anything that's relevant to marketing. And he will turn you on the interesting things that you need in order to change up what you're offering.
Awesome. And you're like very tech focused. What's your thoughts on AI and the future of recruiting?
Yeah. Good one. So are we being politically correct today?
Give it to us.
There will always be a place for recruiters. There's no doubt, because people want to make meaningful connections. But what you will see is that currently AI is fine in adapting a job description and doing a couple of fun things. And you can even build a bot that will test someone based on hard and soft features, so you don't have to do the sourcing part of it, right? So in that sense, part of the process is already being automated. But in a few years, you're going to see that based on the data provided by data providers, 95% of the job can be done by an AI. And then what happens is someone needs to be the culture check. So there will always be a recruiter that will have to manage the process, manage the hiring manager, manage the candidates, manage expectations. So the human part of the job will never go away. But you will see that a lot of the like nitty gritty that will, that makes a recruiter, or the admin stuff is going to leave. So what you're going to find is that I think recruitment teams will become a little bit smaller in the future, because you just need less people. Because sourcing, you don't really have to source that much anymore, because it's just, you're going to have one person doing all of the ads, one person loading in all of the search queries, and then all of the results come straight back to a recruiter that's just a process manager. So
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be definitely fun. It's definitely going to be fun to watch. And I think we're still a long ways off it really working like that, because, you see that there are already guys out there that have built like the digital SDR, a sales development representative, and the digital recruiter and all of that stuff. That's all fun and games. But, eventually, perhaps in 20 years, you and I will be fine in doing a job application to a bot. Currently, we are still not at that point. So, at the moment, we still need recruiters. But I think there are changes happening, and I think it's very important that for recruiters we make sure that we have a very varied skill set. Meaning, in marketing we call it a T-shaped marketer, which means if you're going to look it all up, you are at one point you're technically savvy. So, for instance, you can hook up Google Analytics to a website, etc. And on the other end, you can also do content. So, to give you an idea, when I consult with clients, I can do both. Like, I can be a marketer for them, so a recruitment marketer, and I can be a recruiter. That means I know the entire process from thinking of an ad to place to hiring that person and everything in between. I know the whole process, and thus I can manage that process. And that's something that even for an AI is going to be hard to do, I think. So make sure that you have diversified skill set. And the last thing on that is get your personal branding in order, because one thing that can never leave is that personal branding will get you, will get you gigs. And even though someone can save money by using an AI bot in 10 years to find a person, if I just really like you, Benjamin, I'm going to give you that business because I've seen your videos. I like how you roll. I like your podcast. So you know what? Here's a recruitment gig. So personal branding is still coming back in.
Absolutely. What's your favorite tech tool at the moment?
Ooh. I really like there are a few out there. I like the usual suspects. So MetaView doing the analysis. I like Carve.com. So it's CARV.com. They are a MetaView competitor, and they started in the Netherlands. They're relatively new. They do fun stuff as well, and they really insert themselves into an ATS system and automate a whole bunch of processes, which I really like. I like Wati, but that is WATI, but that is one specific for WhatsApp solutions. So that's not really for the US crowd, but that's really where you automate specific WhatsApp conversations with candidates. And when I really do like, which is the last I'll name because I can keep doing this for life, but what you see nowadays is that, like I said, it's changing a bit from sales to marketing, right? So that means candidates come in through the regular way of applying for a job and getting hunted for a job, but you can also express interest through online ads, through organic posting, through etc. Like there's a difference between someone that applies and someone that shows interest to a job. But for the whole crowd that shows interest, you still need to validate them. Like, do they have the correct background? Can they apply? And you sort of have to pull them in through a funnel in order to get them to apply. And there are nice tools like Perspective, which is a mobile first landing page creator that will actually do the nurturing part for you. So you really need to nurture a candidate after you show an ad to them and they've shown interest by clicking on the ad. You need to nurture them into applying, which could be a video of my head talking about the business. It could be a nice quiz to help them figure out if the job is for them. But you need to host that in a nice online environment that will actually, with a chatbot as well as possibility, but will show them the branding and the feel of the business, which is completely different to just an online applying page, and then pull them in. And that is Perspective. And that's what I really like for recruitment purposes at the moment, which we build to do a lot of volume recruitment. So for instance, for nurses or for electricians or for construction workers.
Nice. Awesome. So like, you've been a recruiter, like you've now built a bunch of products for recruiters. You're now advising large recruiting companies. What do you think has been a part of your own personal success? Like where's it coming from?
Yeah, I have very bad ADHD. So that is both my blessing and my curse. I always like the new thing. So my thing is shiny object syndrome. So I love to build new things and I love to work on the next thing, which can be annoying because then sometimes I leave the old thing, which works fine. So I'm always a very optimistic guy and I love innovation. So I'm always busy with the next thing. And that means that people sort of trust me to sort of figure out what's next and what things are possible. And then I have the managers that I talk to that are then more realistic and then think of, hey, how can we incorporate this into the business or don't incorporate it? And that usually together is a successful combination. So that's what makes me tick, and I can't really change it. So that's been part of my success for now.
So you leaned in.
I definitely leaned in. Yeah.
Well, and this kind of goes into the next question. With everything, the conversations you're having now, the companies you're helping, like you actually being a recruiter and then going into the tech side of the house, if you could go back and have a conversation with yourself, well, let's say like the first or second week of your recruiting career, what advice would you tell yourself in that conversation?
I would tell myself, I know you're going to hate it, but you're going to spend every hour that you have extra in building your own personal brand. That's it. Like the funny thing is, like if you think about it, let's say you're a starting recruiter and you just want to find your way and see what you want to do. Building a personal brand is great because if you leave your employer and do something else, you will still have that audience, and that audience will support you because they like you in anything you do. So as long as you take them on the journey, you don't even need to be an expert in anything when you're 22 and just starting out working. You just need to document what you're doing and document what you're learning and document your failures and your wins. And then people will start liking you. So then when you go on to a next job, even though it might be in a different sector, your followers will still help you out and they will still like you. I mean, it's like you can do so much things with your audience, but if you like later you start working on your audience, the smaller it will be. So I would have tried to force myself to do it, and I don't know if it would have worked because I think for 95% out there, doing personal branding feels cringe, and people are like, I don't want to do it. But there's a way for everyone to do it, right? You can do it in your own way, but it's like it will just work.
Someone here, I stayed away from personal branding way too long because I thought it was cringe. But what I did find out is for the people that hate personal, like talking about themselves, talking about other people, like helped me because when you're shining a spotlight on them, the spotlight is automatically shined back on you.
Definitely, and that's what I enjoy doing. Like I love giving examples of people that are running personal branding all the way up top, and they're just doing great. And I think, it's just always fun to talk about these kind of guys. I think that's a great advice. Just talk about different people that you like, books that you read,
Yeah. Well, Cas, how do people follow you?
Go to my LinkedIn is probably best.
Okay.
We have a fun offer running at the moment because since 3 weeks we've cracked the code on scraping all of LinkedIn. So we actually have all LinkedIn jobs that are posted live daily on our platform. So if you want, hit me up on LinkedIn in a DM, and then I will send you a link. You can actually get free LinkedIn job scrapes over to you bi-weekly. We will do that indefinitely for every 2 weeks. And then you can just use that in your business development methods, or just trial it out. I mean, using data in your business is always an internal change management program. So it takes a while. So that's why we offer the data for free. So you can sort of train your consultants or train yourself to start using the data on a daily basis. So hit me up on there. I also have a Twitter account, but I don't really do that much with it. So I think LinkedIn is the best way to go.
And I'll have your LinkedIn, link in the show notes so people can just click on it, make it easy.
Cool.
Well, Cas, before I let you go, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
No, thanks for doing it. I mean, I love listening to these shows, and I love, I love learning from them. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. Well, Cas, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, definitely excited. Like we're in some exciting times as a recruiter. I know the market's been like up and down. 2023 has been crazy. It's all depending on industries. But the thing is, like we've talked about so many different ways that you can use technology. You can use ways to elevate your business, be different out there, that I think that recruiters can actually implement some of these things. So we're so excited to bring you on to the podcast. And Cas, keep crushing it, buddy. And for the listeners, make 2024 your best year yet. Thank you.